Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational ED Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, remember, these companies are companies that are great companies. You should be using them. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors because you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best equipment purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the tools that the Huddle platform provides. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million fans, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, communication with coaches. How about facility management and athletic eligibility? Home Campus does all of these things, does them better, does it faster, does it easier than other platforms. You really need to check it out. Go to homecampus.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. That's homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for a decade, but Beacon Creative is a new content creation service. You just send your raw data, names, dates, etc., to Beacon Creative. They're going to create compelling stories that you can then share through your digital platforms. I want you to email John Townsend. That's John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. John at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Wall of Fame. It's a winning team. Make sure you connect with them. We also want to welcome a new sponsor to the podcast, and that is Booster Hub. Now, you need boosters that can deliver results, not create headaches. And a weak system, along with volunteer turnover, can leave your program vulnerable. But Booster Hub, the /1 software for booster clubs, solves this. Sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, all of this is now going to flow through one secure system. And when your volunteers change, which is going to happen, nothing falls through the cracks. Funding stays strong, fraud risks stay low, and your community stays engaged. Booster Hub also handles communication, volunteer scheduling, and online spiritware sales, which gives your boosters more time to support your fans. Okay? Give your boosters the platform they need to truly support your athletes. You can learn more at boosterhub.com. That's boosterhub.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Social media posts, newsletters, and more. It's going to help share all the great things that your school and your athletic department is doing. It's doing great work. Don't let it go unnoticed. Get in touch with Gipper.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant AD did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game with their solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? The list just goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. You'll find out more at hometown.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Finally, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything: student athletes, coaches, also parents. And here's the cool thing: the information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive, and it'll be the same for you. We also got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear about their concerns, address them before they turned into something big, and bring that group over to that 98% approval side. And having that type of data, it's incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with maybe your principal, your superintendent, maybe even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going up to South Dakota today, and our guest is going to be Cory Aadland. Cory is a certified Master Athletic Administrator. He's the Activities Director for Mitchell High School. It's in the Mitchell School District, Mitchell, South Dakota. Has a tremendous background in athletics. We're excited to hear about it. But Cory Aadland, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, appreciate you having me. Big fan of your podcast. Big fan of a lot of the people that I've seen come through and been on here before, and always fun to learn more about other people around the country. And it's always an interesting topic, so I always enjoy tuning into your episodes.
Oh, well, thanks for doing that, and thanks for the shout out. I always tell people, we have a great podcast, not because of me, but because of the great guests that we have, just like you. Let's go and jump into your story. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. We like to say, give us your life story in 2 minutes, but just take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. What's the Cory Aadland origin story?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town in northeast South Dakota, Veblen, South Dakota. Graduated with 9 people in my class, so we're talking real small school. And when you're in a small school like that, you do everything, right? Like nothing happens in a small school unless everybody's doing it all. So played football, basketball, track, golf, whatever was in season, that's what we were playing. And then was involved in everything else too, from was in the band, was out for chorus. Doesn't mean I'm very good at any of those things, but like I said, you just have to do that. Was in the school play, yearbook advisor. I mean, all those kind of things. So like I said, when you're in a small school, you just do it all. Whatever's happening, that's what you do. So, and then from there, I went to Moorhead State University in the Fargo-Moorhead area, and played football up there, and had a really enjoyable time in college. Had a great time, and had a fun 4 years.
Again, that small town experience. I always tell the story. I went to a big, public high school, and my first head football job, this was in Oregon, was at a small school in Eastern Oregon, out in the wheat fields, about 100 kids. And we had about 24, 25 kids on the team. But I'll never forget, at halftime, we're running off the field. We're heading into the locker room, and 3 of my guys come up and they go, "Coach, we got to go." I go, "What do you mean you got to go? We're going in here." And they go, "No, we got to play in the band." And they ran up in the bleachers, they had their instruments, and played in their football uniforms. And that was just one example of life in a small town, and it was great. I loved it there.
I played 9-man football is what we played in high school, and then I going to college and obviously playing 11-man football. Played quarterback, and it took a whole season for me to figure out what 11 people look like in a huddle. I kept counting. I'm like, we got too many guys here, and recount them. But no, we got 11. We got the right number, but it always felt like too many. But yeah, there's some great things that happen at those small schools. Sometimes they get overlooked, but a really unique experiences sometimes when you're going to football games and next to cornfields and all that kind of stuff. But had a great upbringing and wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh, yeah. and again, so many people don't have that experience, and it varies from state to state. In Oregon, I mean, this was a long time ago. It was 8-man football. I know some
Mhm.
states, have 7-man football, but hey, football's football. You're out there.
Right.
It's still, as they say, running, blocking, and tackling. Um, Looking at that lifestyle growing up, I mean, obviously South Dakota, rural school or rural situation. Were you a farm kid? Were you in the big city? What are some of your memories of sports growing up, maybe before you got into the school system?
Yeah. You're obviously in a small town of 350 people. But grew up in town, and was probably as much of a city slicker as you could be in a town of 350 people. Didn't do some of those. Wasn't a farm kid, and wasn't really into the hunting, fishing, those kind of things. It was sports. That's what we did. Whatever was in season is what we were playing. So it was baseball in the summer, and whatever, as the seasons moved on, we just we changed sports gear, and picked up whatever ball was going on at that time.
Mhm. Now, looking back again at those days, and maybe now let's transition into your school days, middle school, high school. Um, what are some what's a memory or maybe a couple of memories of maybe you guys were the dominant team in the county, and you just rolled over everybody, or maybe you were the underdog. What's a memory of those days with your teammates that really sticks out for you even now?
Yeah, it probably goes back to my football career. We had a pretty good run, towards the end of my high school career. A lot of us played early, played young, and kind of got whooped up on pretty good when we were, freshmen, sophomores. But had a really good group of guys that was of my age, and were able to, kind of stick together and really kind of build something. And my senior year, I got beat in the state semifinals, but had a really good year. And it's kind of one of those things looking back, is that we were maybe better than what we thought we were at the time. You're just kind of, you're in the middle of it, and you don't really think much about it. You're just kind of, you're just dealing with that week at a time. But you look back at it, and there was some really good experiences, and you see it in all schools, of course. But when you're in those small communities like that, it's, the town shut down for whatever that event is. And I'm, all the you're friends with everybody, everybody that's in the stands. And just really, those communities really rally around their sports. That's what you do on Friday nights. You go to the football game, the basketball game, whatever it is. So just, you get raised by more than your parents, especially in a small town. It's, your friends' parents have just as much say over what you're doing, and they'll parent you as much as your own do. So really community based type upbringing.
Oh no, absolutely. You got a lot of those same memories. You mentioned college. What was that recruiting experience like? Did they come and visit you? Was your head football coach, was he kind of pushing that recruiting drive? What are your memories of that?
Yeah, it's a tough it's tough to get recruited as a 9-man football quarterback into college, right? It's so it I don't my coach was definitely, recruiting back then obviously is significantly different now, as far as, access to film and those kind of things. I mean, I'm cutting up my own tapes on VHS tapes and send them to a handful of schools. I mean, that's what that would look like. But so not a ton of recruiting. There's a handful of schools that I certainly didn't go to college to play football. I went to a school where I wanted to go to school that had the programs that I wanted to go to, and just happened to be that I was able to play football along with it. So just a way for me to, extend that part of my life, that that's all I knew at that time was playing sports. So the idea of giving that up as an 18-year-old and not playing sports anymore just wasn't something that I was interested in doing. So I was going to find a way to play something, whatever it was, and football just happened to be the path that worked out best for me.
Oh no, I'm right there with you. Absolutely. There's no way I wanted to enter the job market, out of high school. So, oh, you mean I can keep playing sports? So,
Mhm.
absolutely. Um, was talking about that, I guess maybe that next step was coaching always in the mix. You knew you wanted to be a coach from the get go, or did that just kind of happen over time?
Yeah, so this is probably where I differ from a lot of people. I've never taught, I've never coached. I graduated with a computer information systems degree and a management minor. So I graduated in high school in 2000, and the big push at that time was computers, right? So that I wouldn't say I got pushed into it, but that was kind of the path that laid out in front of me at that time. So I spent uh, my first job out of college was working at a software company, and I spent about 4.5, 5 years doing computer programming and those things, and kind of found out throughout that time that I was like, this maybe isn't quite perfect for me. You know, a lot more time in an office by myself and in front of a screen, and not enough people interaction for kind of what I was looking for. So from there, I was fortunate enough to get an NAIA school in town here, Dakota Wesleyan University. Had a change in their athletic director, and they kind of restructured their their staff and created an associate athletic director position. And happened to have a good relationship with the guy that was hired as the AD, and was fortunate enough to get that associate AD job there. So I did 2 years as the associate AD at Dakota Wesleyan University, and that really changed the entire trajectory of my professional life, because up to that point, I was just working a job. You know, it didn't quite have that feel that you were really looking for. So I did 2 years there. Ended up getting out of that for a little while and going back into private sector work for a little while. And then was spent 2 years on our on the school board, actually, for the Mitchell School District. My dad was, again, small town. My dad was everything from the school board president to the fire chief to, you know, he was really involved and kind of established that expectation that, you know, public service and giving back and those kind of things. And my grandpa was an educator in the school district here that I'm in now in Mitchell. So all those things kind of led me into the spend time on the school board. Got elected for a job there. Spent 2 years of a 3-year term there, and while I was on the school board, the athletic director position opened up here at Mitchell, and um, just was really fortunate to be able to get even in the door, right? To even get sat down in an interview. But it was all those relationships and background that I had at Dakota Wesleyan as a 2-year college assistant AD, and then just the relationships that I had with our superintendent and our administration here in the district, just from the school board. So a really kind of windy path that ends up, you know, 10 years out of college, getting an activities director position, and didn't have a clue what I was getting into, right? Like I'd officiated basketball and football for about 10 years prior to getting the job. So, you know, through that, thought I had a pretty good idea of what the AD job looked like, until I sat down for the first time and realized I had no idea what that really was. It was way more involved than what anybody thinks. So, yeah, so kind of a windy path, but something that I think my past experiences have with as much technology as we use on a day-to-day basis, you know, to run our events and those kind of things. That background, I think, has served me really well. Computer programming is also just kind of a different kind of thinking when you think about what that might look like. So kind of a windy path, but at the same time, it feels like if I could go back and tell 18-year-old me uh, what I want to do, I would maybe set on a more direct path to this, but feels like it's become a passion that I really enjoy, and something that I feel like I was intended to do.
Well, that's an interesting take, and it was actually a great transition into our second segment. We've covered about half of that already, but we're going to go back and talk some more about it because I think it bears a lot of application for our listeners. Let's go and take our first break. Once again, our guest today is Cory Aadland. He's a certified master athletic administrator. He's the activities director for Mitchell High School, and that's in Mitchell, South Dakota. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best equipment purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the platform. Our student athletes loved the videos. Even our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 100 million fans and users and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And as always, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the podcast.
Huddle, they can do it all, can't they? Man, it's amazing to think where they started in just kind of this straight video sharing and what they do now. I mean, our coaches use some of the Huddle Assist and the sideline, and we use it all. So they do. It's really changed the game for coaches and how the information that they have now is incredible, and they continue to add more and more features as we go.
Oh, you're so right. And you mentioned earlier, as a high school student athlete, you were breaking down your own VHS tapes. I still remember driving Saturday mornings for 4 hours to make that handoff with another coach before the exchange could be done electronically. Yeah, Huddle is just great. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Hey, our guest today once again is Cory Aadland. He's the activities director for Mitchell High School, Mitchell School District in South Dakota. Cory, you were talking about your path to becoming an AD, that you really didn't teach or coach, but your set of circumstances, I think, almost in reverse, was just a tremendous learning experience, life experience for somebody wanting to become an AD. You were kind of working the job at the college level, and of course there's some similarities, but then getting the job at the school board, that's an area that I think many teachers, coaches, and ADs never get a glimpse to, other than maybe if they get in trouble or something. But from that level, from that school board level, you get access to just maybe a lot of, let's say, hidden knowledge, secret knowledge, but some really good knowledge that I think ADs, coaches, and leaders can benefit from. Am I making sense here? Does that make sense?
Right. I just never really thought about it that way, but it is almost the backwards approach to it, where from a school board member perspective, you're looking at things very, very high level. So it gives you maybe a higher level perspective of some things, whereas if you come in and as a teacher and a coach, you're just kind of living in your little world. Where I came in kind of back the opposite direction there, and saw it from a high level and kind of worked my way down. So now obviously I'm dealing with a lot more details on a day-to-day basis, from a school district standpoint, but still have an understanding of how things work from an overall budget standpoint and policy and those kind of things. So definitely some good insight, and some understanding to get into some things. There's a lot of times where things are made, decisions are made above you, that you don't like, and you don't, and there's still some of those that I maybe don't like, but you can at least understand kind of where some of that stuff's coming in a kind of a more global approach to some of those decisions.
Right. You also touched upon that, in your journey and in your path that's now brought you to the AD seat, that you had the opportunity to work with people and build those so very important relationships, and having a good relationship with your board members. I think it can be crucial for an AD, for a coach too. But also, I'm going to imagine as a board member, you're building relationships with people in the community, with parents, with stakeholders, possible sponsors. Have you, looking back now, can you see how that was a big benefit for you as you were prepping to become the AD?
I mean, it's just it's developing that network and having those relationships that go. So, like you said, when you go to somebody, you need something or whatever that might be. You're not just knocking on the door and asking for money or asking for something. There's more to it. There's more depth to those relationships than what there might be otherwise. So, yeah, just that whole I spent 10 years in Mitchell before I got the AD job, and just having that network of people around the community really helps kind of jumpstart maybe the some of the relationships that have grown since then. I certainly have you know deeper relationships with those people, those organizations now than I did originally. But those introductory level, surface level type relationships had already been established, and was able to jump into some more depth to those.
No, and that's such a huge point. That's really why I guess I'm beating this horse, because I really think it was so valuable. Somebody could have come in and they had maybe were a teacher, a coach, maybe even an AD at another school a couple hours away. And so they kind of knew the minutia of the job that you didn't possibly know, but now they're going to have to build those relationships from scratch that you have spent the last 10 years building. So again, it was, I think for maybe the hiring team, it was a trade-off, but I think for me, just hearing you share the story, just wow, we've got Cory Aadland wants to be our AD. Let's talk about this some more. I got to imagine that, I mean, what's your memory of that time when you were applying? Was it, hey, we're excited, or, Cory doesn't know anything about being an AD. What are some of your memories of that?
I remember calling my superintendent at the time, and or maybe sent him an email, I think, just when I found out that the job was opening, and just said to him, hey, like I'd like to talk to you about this. So he said, yeah, sure, I'll be right over, and met me where I was working at that time, and we sit down. I started asking questions about requirements and some of those type of things. And in my mind, because I'm interested in applying for the job, right? And we get into it, and he goes, yeah, he goes, I was thinking of you with your athletic background. I'd really like you to be involved in the hiring committee and those kind of things. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on the hiring committee. I want the job. So even he didn't even, it wasn't even on the front of his mind, until I told him that I was interested. So, and I mean, I knew that there was people that were more qualified, and the resume looked better than what mine did. 100%. I knew that. Again, if I don't have some of the relationships that I had to even get an interview, that this never happens. Because if I'm just somebody applying, looking at a resume, I don't even get a consideration. Is kind of what I felt. So those relationships with those people became really critical to even get my foot in the door. And then it became obviously on me to try to sell myself and prove that I could do the job, and was really fortunate, and know a lot to my superintendent for maybe taking a bit of a leap, at the time, because it was, yes, I was known in the community, so that maybe helped a little bit, but I'm sure there's people scratching their head thinking, what are we doing? We're gonna hire this guy to do this job. But I think it's worked out. At least I've been able to stick it out here for 10 years, so something must be going okay.
That's right. Well, you already mentioned this. You've got the job now. You're the activities director. You're the AD. But like for all of us, we don't know what we don't know. What's something you can share from that first week, month, year that you found out you didn't know this went with the job?
Yeah, I could probably give you the first 5 years worth of stuff because there's that much, but it may be still now. But the first one I remember is it was my second day. Um, my superintendent walked me in my office day one and said, here you go. What do you need from me? And I'm like, that's it. Like, I just go. Like, there's no, I mean, it's a learn on the job type of job, right? Like you just go do the job, which I think is a challenge for ADs because nobody knows what it is that we're doing, in our school systems. But the second day, somebody came in my office and said, "Hey, when's homecoming?" I was like, "Homecoming? Like what? Why are you asking me when homecoming is? Like, here's the football games. Like, well, you got to set the homecoming date, And looking back, yeah, that's kind of obvious, but there's just so much more that goes into our job that people don't understand. Uh, they see us standing at games and that think that's pretty much all we do, and don't have really any clue of the depth of things that we go through. So, and it just, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, what key goes to what, and I got 100 coaches on staff, and I know about 15 of their names, and I'm like, how am I gonna do this? And set homecoming dates and all the other things that come along with what this job is that people don't see. So yeah, that was the first one though, is day two, when's homecoming? And I didn't have a clue, but we figured it out. So those first couple of years are a lot of questions of something comes to you, and what now might take a couple minutes to make a decision. Back then was a 30-minute conversation of what have we done in the past, what's worked, what hasn't. And so some of those things certainly get better and easier and a lot more efficient. But yeah, those first years are tough. Trying to get the lay of the land and kind of understanding of what it all takes.
Well, I'm just having goosebumps and flashbacks, to my first AD job. Very similar experiences. There's a line out the door with people with questions. I'm going, I just got here, but no, you're absolutely right. People don't understand what the AD does. But we're going to tell them. Let's go and take another quick break. Our guest today is Cory Aadland, Certified Master Athletic Administrator. That's right, he's a Master Athletic Administrator now. Let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to hear about all things Mitchell High School, what makes it great, and why Cory's looking forward to the next 10, 20, 30 years there. We'll be right back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management. How about athletic eligibility and clearance? Their clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to find out all the ways that they can help you. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. Now, Vital Signs Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for a decade, but now Beacon Creative takes it to the next level. Beacon Creative is a content creation service that's going to allow you to share your stories of your athletes, your teams, your legacy, and barely lift a finger to do it. I want you to email John Townsend at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Find out all the ways that Beacon Creative can help you bring your school's legacy to life. We also want to welcome a new sponsor to the podcast, Booster Hub. If you've got a booster club or clubs at your school, okay, you need Booster Hub on your team. You want your boosters, you want them to deliver results, not create headaches. And a weak system with too much volunteer turnover can leave your program vulnerable. But Booster Hub, the #1 software for booster clubs, helps you solve this. Sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, all of this is going to flow through one secure system. And when volunteers change, nothing falls through the cracks. Funding stays strong, fraud risks stay low, and your community stays engaged. Booster Hub also handles your communication, volunteer scheduling, online spiritware sales, and all of this gives your boosters more time to support your teams as fans. Give your boosters the platform they truly need to support your athletes. Go to boosterhub.com for more information. That's boosterhub.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Cory Aadland. He's a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the activities director for Mitchell High School, and that's in Mitchell, South Dakota. Cory, we've talked a little bit about it, but give our listeners an idea of, Mitchell, the school, the community, what's the enrollment, how many teams do you have, and what are some things that you think really make the program and the community a special place to be?
So Mitchell's hour west of Sioux Falls, right on I-90, about 15,000 people. Mitchell High School, we're in our largest class in all but one sport, all but tennis. We're in the larger class. So we're a big small school or a small big school. Kind of depends on how you want to look at it. Because like I said, we're competing in the big class, but yet we're not one of the bigger schools. Certainly one of the bigger communities. So, but really, I mean, very much a community-based type of a school. So we've got 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school. I oversee all extracurricular programming from middle school through high school. So basically anything 6-12 that happens after 3:15 is it doesn't happen in a classroom, falls under my watch. So I think I've got 110 or so employees total between or that report to me, in anything from our athletic offerings to our fine arts, band, chorus, debate, show choir is a really big program for us here in Mitchell. So and then all your student groups from your FBLA and FCCLA and student council and yearbook and all those things. So and again, kind of going back to the beginning where we talked, that small school upbringing, we didn't have some of these offerings, when I was in the school that we were at, but we had to do everything in order to have it, and it gave me a pretty pretty wide view and understanding of all these different areas. Now I'm not an expert in any of these areas, but yet have had some good background and just some understanding of kind of well-rounded as far as what the offerings are. So we have 22 high school sports. We offer everything that the states that we offer, that we sanction with the state is what we offer. Just brought on softball here. We're the last state in the country to bring softball on here about 3 years ago, I think. So the challenges, of course, that we have sometimes with an offering standpoint is we run outdoor time, fall and spring to be able to do that. We're limited obviously a little bit with some of our seasons. So playing spring and playing softball in the spring, spring weather can be challenging, but and the challenge, I guess, that we have is that, like I said, we're a smaller, big school, but yet we offer all the sports and all the offerings that everybody else does. So, we take our enrollment, we spread it out over a lot of different activities. So we've got something for everyone, right? Like you can, whatever it is that you have for an interest in, we're able to serve that. But sometimes that, like I said, spreads our kids out pretty thin. So roster sizes and some of those things can become a bit challenging. We have to work through those and get creative a little bit in how we deal with that and how we try to address that. But yeah, a really supportive community. It reminds me of the small community that I grew up in a lot of ways, of what the support that we get both from just your casual fans, the businesses that we have in town. Everyone really shows up and supports us when we need things done.
Yeah, again, I spent most of my career in smaller schools. Sometimes they were also in a smaller town, but you're absolutely right. Um, you talk about that challenge of offering. You want to offer the sports that the other schools are offering. You want to give your kids those opportunities, but then it's that numbers, voodoo. You've only got a certain number of kids, and let's say spring sports, you got three teams, and all three teams are thriving, and they're doing well. You add that fourth team, whatever that sport is, it's going to pull kids off those other programs. And yeah, now they're going to have an opportunity, but you run that risk of going from three strong teams to four mediocre teams because, they just don't have that numbers. Is that something that you guys look at when you're thinking about adding teams, or something that you have dealt with? And if so, how'd you manage that?
We definitely have those conversations because you're 100% right. When you add a sport, you're going to pull some kids from other sports. That's, you might have some kids playing another sport because that's the only offering that they have at the time. But then when you add another sport that they might have a greater interest in, they're going to leave the sport they're in and go to the other one. So that absolutely happens. There's also some other kids that wouldn't be playing that sport if you didn't offer it either. That's the flip side. And we've added a few sports since I've been here. We added a few right before I started as well. So we're going to offer up as many opportunities as we can for kids, and figure out how to fight the roster size challenges that we have. Those are more controllable to us than I'd rather have more opportunities and be able to serve more kids that we wouldn't be serving otherwise and then deal with some of those challenges than not offer it out of the hopes that we strengthen some of our other ones. So that's the approach. It's definitely two different schools of thinking, right? Of trying to maintain some of maybe what you consider your traditional core sports and not offering some of these kind of the newer ones that pull kids. But we've taken the stance that we want to provide as many opportunities as we can to as many different kids, and then we'll deal with the challenges and the ramifications that come with it. And it's worked well for us. We understand the challenges that we have, competing with some schools that have three times the enrollment in ours. But those we anytime any of our community, our coaches kind of start talking about those challenges and how it isn't fair, we just got to find a way to do it better than they do. That's really what it comes down to. And you get in the bigger cities, and they've got the trainers and they've got all these other outside resources that we don't. But we also have the benefit of those kids are ours, right? When they start school in kindergarten, they're coming to us. We're going to get them. So we get involved earlier with those kids. We get involved when they're in elementary school and really try to build those. And the advantage there, of course, is that you get to build your own and have those influences early on, as opposed to them going to the private trainers and getting them there and having to bring them into your fold. So we get involved earlier, and we try to really build some of those youth programs and have some bigger involvement than maybe some of the bigger schools would.
Right. Boy, so many great points there. Again, I think for me, the key was, you're going to try to offer what your kids want, and try to provide those opportunities. And also that point you made about getting, starting those relationships early when they're in, little kid youth programs, just so important. Great stuff. Cory, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, or just add you to their network, we already talked about the importance of networking. What's the best way that our listeners can get in touch with Cory Aadland?
I'm on Twitter. I'm at Cory Aadland, I think is what it is. My email address. Yeah, however people want to reach out to me. One of the things that was maybe the biggest surprise to me when I started this job was you have these relationships from a school standpoint. You got your rivals in your school, and you think that those rivals are going to carry over to the AD level, and that just isn't the case. I mean, I can call up any AD that we have in the state and be able to get whatever it is that I need from them. I mean, we're professional thieves. We constantly steal stuff from other people. So yeah, that I'm happy to help and connect with anybody. If there's something that I can do to help somebody a little bit, I'm certainly willing to do that for sure.
Well, again, we'll put the information in the show notes, but Cory's also available. His information's in the NIAAA membership portal. So let's go and take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are coming back with more with our guest, Cory Aadland from Mitchell High School. That's in Mitchell, South Dakota. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your school's doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thanks to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a game changer for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction? The list just goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. Go to hometown.com, and as always, don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast.
Yeah, we've been with Gipper for a number of years, and it's amazing how simple they make life. I think nowadays we're expected to operate like a small college in a lot of ways, and that platform really allows, that people are on social media, right? That's where people are at, and they want to see graphics, and those are great. And we've been with Hometown for a number of years too. They can do everything from when we first met, we were throwing out all the different passes and booster club punch cards and all this kind of stuff that we have, and they handled it all. It's been great.
Well, I appreciate you sharing on both of those great sponsors for us. For Gipper, again, I'm much older than you. And, the fact that I tell people Gipper is so easy to use, even I can use it. But the return on investment, you hear from the kids when they see their social media post, or even from the parents whose kid got that social media post, just tremendous. And, Hometown has just continued to grow as a platform. And for me, I keep hearing this from people that the customer service from Hometown is just fantastic. Is that your experience?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Anything they'll do a lot of the work for you in a lot of cases with entering schedules. Yeah, anytime we want to change something, any kind of question we have, they've been great.
Well, thanks again for those shout outs. Let's get back to our visit. For our listeners, our guest today is Cory Aadland. He's a certified master athletic administrator. Now, Cory, that doesn't happen by accident. And you've shared your, I'm not going to say it's unique, but let's say not the usual path to becoming an athletic director. And you've shared this with me already, that your state association, along with NIAAA, have had a big impact on that. Can you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, when you want the AD job because you initially you think you just you want to take something that's a passion of yours personally and build a career out of it, right? So I thought I was going to get paid to run athletic events and fine arts and activities related programs. Um, so I can honestly say I knew nothing about our state AD associate. I didn't know anything about the SDI AAA. I didn't know anything about the NIAAA. Went to my first state conference my first year, and they're offering these LTC classes. So at the time, I started taking whatever class I could because I didn't know I had no educational background in the job. So I needed to do. I started taking classes to try to learn how to do my job. That's really where it started. Um, and then the next thing you know, you take 4 or 5 classes and you're a class or two away from this certification. So, being competitive as we tend to be in athletics, you put a challenge in front of us, we're gonna do that. So it was, well, let's take this 2 classes and take this test and get this certification. Um, so I honestly look at my my CAA was my undergrad. That's what that certification was my undergraduate degree. And then, again, just continue to take classes for just to better myself and to learn how to do the job. And again, next thing you know, there's the CMAA certification out in front of you, and you go and do that. So my CAA was my undergraduate degree, and my CMAA was my master's. That's really kind of how I look at it. And I've talked with, I didn't have my master's at the time. I have since then, but I've talked with people, that came into these jobs with a master's degree in educational leadership or whatever, sports management, whatever it is. And a lot of people say that the LTC classes, that are written by ADs for ADs, they're far more beneficial than what they'd gotten in some of their master's programming as well. So those classes are so applicable, and in the networking that happens with them, just being around people that are in similar situations, what you learn from who you're taking classes with sometimes can be just as valuable as what the course content is.
Oh, absolutely. I've shared this many times. I got the idea of what turned into my CMAA project sitting at a roundtable discussion at an LTI course, just bouncing ideas off other ADs, and just said, "Wow, that's a great idea," and that's what became my CMAA project. Going back to some of those early courses, the typical, I think, response for somebody taking that first LTI course, it's either, wow, this is really cool stuff. I got to bring it back to my district, or, and sometimes it's both, wow, we're not doing any of this stuff. I really need to talk to my principal and superintendent to make sure we can incorporate it. Did you have either of those experiences as you were taking those courses?
I had both of those, and I mean, you take the legal classes, and I mean, you're by the time you walk out the door, you're like, I know I'm going to get sued for all these things that we're not doing right. So, yeah, there's a lot to be learned. We had Steve Burseth, who was a, highly involved in the national level, especially with some of the legal courses. We just lost him here this past fall, but he taught all of our legal classes, and yeah, you walked out of there. He scared the bejesus out of you when you get done with that. But I also think as you go through this, there are also some things that you're doing that is also just some kind of assurances that you are doing the right things, right? Because there's some things that you go through it and you think, okay, I'm doing this, and they just said that I should do this. So there sometimes we don't get a lot of support and gratification in this job. Everyone comes with us with complaints. So just some assurances that what you're doing is right sometimes can go a long way, just to maybe help with the confidence and the morale that we got places to grow. There's a lot of things that we can do better, but maybe we're not doing as bad of a job as everyone tells us we are.
And that is such an important point. You're absolutely right that, many times, we're doing something, and maybe it's an idea that we stole from somebody else. But when you hear somebody talk about that aspect of it, or that application in an LTI course or in a workshop. It's validation of, hey, maybe I'm not a complete dope at all these things. I just did an interview the other day with a good friend, longtime friend, and a gentleman in our state, Dan Talbot. You're on the national board. You probably have met Dan. Dan,
Dan really well.
uh,
And you mentioned the voodoo before. You can go back to some of his previous podcasts and look at his voodoo jar that he's had on his table. So you asked Dan about the voodoo and the issues that have come from South Dakota in his travels.
there you go. I will. But Dan is fond of sharing the story. You call an AD up anywhere in the country. You call them up and you say, "Hey, how's it going?" And if they say, "Oh, it's going great," they're lying because they're dealing with the 5, the 10, the 15 different things that you're dealing with right now with kids, coaches, parents, community, et cetera. It's a great job. We love our job. It's the best job in the world. But again, there's challenges that we're all dealing with. Let's go and talk about your involvement with the NIAAA Board of Directors. How did that happen, and how's it going?
So I'm just a year into it. And Josh Matthews I'll steal it from him. He said it's the greatest professional development experience that he'll ever have, and I couldn't agree more with that. And kind of how we got here, I guess. I mean, I again jumped in and just started taking classes, and when there was opportunities to help and be involved at our state level, I did that. Became was able to get hired as the assistant LTI coordinator position. I think 6 years ago, something like that. And all it was born out of was I got so much from that organization that I wanted to try to give back and help people that were coming behind me. And that's kind of been the wise philosopher Josh Scott said, sign up and show up. And he put it more eloquently than I did in my thinking, but that's what I've done is when there's been an opportunity to do something, I've signed up and I've showed up. And again, I've gotten so much from the organization, everything from the cohorts are phenomenal. I went through the mentor cohort. I went through the leadership cohort. I've been a mentor now in the leadership cohort for 3 years. The state coordinators, when you go to that state coordinator summit in September in Indy, the amount of knowledge and passion that's in that group of 100 and some people is really remarkable. So yeah, it became a what can I do to give back, and then I know that I'm going to learn and get better as I go. So I'm getting a lot more out of these experiences than I am giving back. I'm trying to give back, but I'm learning a ton along the way. And then yeah, when the board position came up, the rotation came up for the Section 5 position, rolled to South Dakota, and I was just extremely fortunate to get selected for that. And I'm a big fate guy. I believe in a lot of those things that happen for reasons, and that's just another one of them. It just came along in the right time and the right career path for me. There's a lot of phenomenal people, Hall of Famers in our country that never get the opportunity to sit on the NIAAA board of directors, and I'm very aware of that, and I'm very very conscious and appreciate the position and the opportunity to serve there. And when you sit in a room of 15, 16 leaders from across the country, you can get humbled pretty quick, and just kind of mesmerized by the people that are in there with you, the people that have been there in the past. When you start looking at the people that have been through that boardroom prior to you, it's pretty humbling. And again, just within our section, some of the people that we've had come through Section 5, and we've had a lot of leadership through our section, and everybody does. So to have my name listed with that type of group is somebody went wrong somewhere. But like I said, just the timing was good for me, and the opportunity was great, and we're so incredibly fortunate to have the NIAAA staff that we do. I mean, with Phil, Rich, and Becky leading the entire office staff. I mean, that group is just incredible. I remember back early on when I kind of first learned who the NIAAA was, that organization, and you think of it as this massive organization, and it is, but it's run full time by, at that time, maybe more like five, six, seven people. Where it's the the volunteerism in our association is next to none. I mean, the fact that we run a 16,000 member organization largely on volunteers with the staff of 8 or 10, whatever it is. I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of work and the impact that we can have as an association. But again, I can't say enough about the work that gets done in the national office in Indy there. The staff is just amazing. Anytime you need something, they're so helpful. And I've said it before, it's not so even much what they do because they do incredible work, but it's how they do it and the passion that they do it with. They truly are one of us. Even though some of those haven't been ADs, they have a great passion for the work that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Just taking a couple notes. Again, so you covered a lot in that segment, but going back to the sign up and show up, very much of that mindset. I was on National Certification Committee for 9 years, and the people that you get to work side by side with and learn from and watch and just try to absorb everything that they bring. And I've been retired now for a couple of years, but I still, rub shoulders a little bit with a lot of those board members. I hear the good things you're doing, so don't sell yourself short on that. Well, Cory, this has been cool. Spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to hear what Cory Aadland puts in his new athletic director toolbox. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, typically address them before they turned into something big. But getting back to that positive data, having all of that information, it was incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that'll let you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Cory Aadland. He is a certified master athletic administrator. He's the activities director for Mitchell High School and Mitchell School District, and that's in South Dakota. Has a tremendous background as a leader, as an administrator, but right now I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new AD on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Cory, what 3 tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
So the first thing I would put in would be a flip phone. And the reason it would be a flip phone, well, one, I need all my contacts. Like I need the network of people, that you develop. You have to lean on those people, and it's different for every. We've done Julie Eppard, who you had on recently. I know started a mentor program for us. So you've got those maybe official mentors that your state association may set up. Which are great, but you also have just those mentors that you kind of naturally find. You have to have people to help you through this. It's a tough job. We've talked before how you're the only person in your district that understands what it is that you're doing. Nobody else really understands it. So you have to find those people that that help you and you can lean on. And those may be people in a nearby school, schools within your conference, whoever those people are. You got to find those mentors to lean on and support you. Again, it's a lonely job, but you're not doing this by yourself. There's people near you. There's veteran ADs that want to help. You just have to ask. So, and I've been fortunate, with different experiences that I've had through our state and our national organization to really branch out that network. So my contact list has NIAAA Hall of Famers on it who have no business being in my phone, but yet they're a phone call away because they'll help me the same way I'll help a brand new AD type of thing. So, and I make it a flip phone because I don't want to deal with the email. I don't want to deal with social media. I just want it to be contact. So it would represent the network that you have to have, and that I've been fortunate to develop over my time. I don't know how big the toolbox is, but I'm putting my administrative assistant in it because they and it's your administrative assistant, it's whatever support staff that you have. That may look different for different people, but you have to find those people within your district that can help you. This is not a one person job. I tried to make it a one person job more so, some out of necessity and some out of just maybe a feeling of I needed to be involved in all these things. But you have to find your staff within your district that can help support you. And my main one, like I said, is my administrative assistant. We all have those people that she's the one that runs this place. She just asked me what decisions to make when she doesn't feel comfortable and doesn't want to share that or own that responsibility type of thing. So we have those people. We need to lean on them as much as we can. And it may not be an administrative assistant. It may be your custodial staff. It may be if you're fortunate to have an assistant AD, those type of things. Those are those people. But there's also just you've got coaches that are willing to help you in their off season, or that's one of the bigger things that I've done in recent years is find off season coaches to help run events for me when I might want to be away, or if I've got a conflict or those kind of things. So your support staff that you have in your district, especially for me, my administrative assistant is definitely going in there. And then it's whatever organization tool that whatever that looks like for you. Everybody's organized is different, right? You may be a list guy, I'm a list guy. But whatever organization system you need to do. Some people, you walk into their office and you could probably walk in mine a lot of times and see these, stacks of papers all over, and it doesn't look organized maybe, but I know where everything's at. So that's my organization system in that moment. But, and again, it looks different for different people, but you can't do this job without being organized. It isn't possible, or if you try to do it, you're not going to last very long because it creates way too many high stress moments to be able to work through if you're not organized. If you're organized, you can deal with some of the fires that are coming at you on a daily basis. But if you're trying to run events and trying to do things that when you're not organized and deal with fires at the same time, it doesn't work. So you have to know what's coming. You have to be organized so you can be prepared for those things. And then my fourth bonus one would be a desire to get better. You're not good enough right now to get to where you want to go, right? And that's all of us. So whatever it is that you want to do next, your current version of yourself is not good enough to do that. So you have to want to get better. You have to want to grow to be able to do whatever it is that next thing is that you want to do. So whatever that looks like, and it can look like a lot of different ways. Reading books is something I was never a reader, and I would meet all these people doing different things and say, "Oh, I love to read." I'm like, that is not me. I do not love to read. But over the last couple of years, I've developed. I don't know if I'd say I love to read, but I've gotten enough out of some of the reading and growth that I see the impact that it has on you. So I try to read every day. For me, it's got to be professional development books. That's what I want to read. I've got yours on my shelf here behind me. It's a way for me to get better and continue to be a better leader, which can has benefits beyond just your job as well. If you're picking the right books and the right topics, I hope that it's making me a better dad, a better husband, and just a better person in general. So, but you have to want to be better. You can't just kind of sit back on your laurels and say that you're good with who you are. There's got to be a a desire for growth and to become better.
Boy, I love all your tools. Thanks for that shout out too on the book. And yeah, I love the way that you phrase that a desire to get better. Very cool stuff. And then the flip phone analogy for networking. Don't need all that other stuff. Just I need my contact list. Um, we're going to do our sign off a little bit differently. We want you to reach out, listeners, to Cory. You got a great resource here. Pick his brain, add him to your network, let him add you to his. His information's on the NIAAA membership portal. You can find that. But Cory, I'm going to put you on the spot. You gave my book a shout out. What's another book that you would recommend to our listeners? Maybe it's something you just finished. Maybe it's something you're currently reading. But toss out one more book recommendation.
So I just had this conversation with Josh Matthews last night. Um, my favorite recent one is Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. He's this find your why, start with why, that type of thing. But Infinite Game is really a really good one, and that's my most recent favorite one that I finished. And then another one, if you don't mind, The Culture Code. Dan Covey, I believe,
Oh, yeah.
is one that I was gifted here recently too, and that's a great one too. So a big fan of culture, and it's something that we're always striving to be better. So that was a really good one as well.
Well, Cory, thanks for those tips. Great reads, both of them. Um, all the best moving forward into 2026. And hopefully, we're going to be able to connect either at a state conference or at next year's national conference down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, appreciate you having me on, giving this opportunity, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next time.
For listeners, we appreciate you. And just a reminder that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories along with some best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.